Here are my 5 predictions for the 2023 Toronto real estate market. Before I give you my predictions, it goes without saying that a lot of what I'm about to say will greatly depend on whether we go into a recession and how bad it is. I'm not an economist, however, it seems like lots of actual economists and pundits are split on whether we get a soft landing or not. My predictions are predicated on there being a soft landing, mostly because if the recession is really rough, then what will happen to the Toronto real estate market is fairly obvious. Lots of pain. So let's get to it. Inventory levels will drive everything, in my opinion. I think good property inventory will remain relatively low for the first half of the year, although we'll see our typical bumps in the number of new listings as we move towards the spring. And while there's a chance that we see further rate increases in the first quarter of the year, we've already seen a turnaround in buyer demand towards the end of 2022. So I believe demand will remain healthy, barring a major recession, particularly for the most desirable properties on the market. The end of 2022 has shown us that buyers are more particular about their home purchases and aren't afraid to let certain properties linger on the market if they're not a good fit. So what does this mean for prices? I believe they will remain relatively steady with modest increases month to month as we move through the first 6 months, with the exception of the usual seasonal swings down approaching the summer. Average prices almost always dip from June to August due to a combination of fewer luxury home sales and reduced buyer activity. On that note, I think buyer activity will be fairly high in the summer this year. In summer of 2022, it seemed like everyone was traveling outside of Canada. With a potential recession coming, I think people will stay closer to home during the typical travel months, which means people are around to look at houses more. By the time we get to the fall, I think we'll be closer to when people start anticipating interest rate cuts, and so buyer and seller activity will increase. The general consensus I'm seeing out there is that rates might come down in late 2023, but not likely until the start of 2024. But by September or October, people will start seeing those lower rates coming, and they'll feel better about buying a home, so we'll see a healthy bump in buyer demand. And because I predict that the first half of the year will have small price growth, but pretty decent buyer demand, sellers will have the confidence they need to put their home on the market and feel good about the price they're going to get. Mix in the anticipated lower rates and what that will do for buyer demand, and sellers will start listing their homes in much better numbers than the first half of the year and compared to the last half of 2022. By the end of the year, I think total sales will be up compared to last year, but not by much. There were a little under 80,000 sales in 2022, which was down remarkably from 2021, a record year with about 120,000. I think we'll end up somewhere between 82 and 85,000 sales in 2023. Now, for the rental market, Canada has a record high immigration target of 465,000 new Canadians this year, up from about 430,000 last year. This combined with people being pushed out of purchasing over the past year means sustained pressure on the rental market. Not likely in the 20% increase magnitude that we saw from 2021 to 2022, but I do believe we'll see further rent increases by the end of this year. To recap, inventory down in the first half and then up in the second half. Annual sales up, prices up, although not by a lot. Rental prices up, but again, by a modest increase. Do you agree with me? And if not, what is just your crystal ball telling you? I'm Jamie Harnish, Toronto Real Estate Navigator with Bosley Real Estate. I want to thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you watching. And if you could do me a favor, hit the like button, subscribe to my channel so that you catch all upcoming videos.